Hey, what's up? My name is Mike Squires, and this is Couch Riffs Podcast, episode number 165. 165. And my guest, Greg Gilmore. Fantastic human, fantastic drummer, former members of some legendary Seattle bands. 10-Minute Warning, The Living, most famously Mother Love Bone, which a band that was my favorite Seattle band growing up. And what a yeah, what a cool path and journey I think Greg has taken. And he's one of those guys when you talk when you like if you were in a band with him, you would credit him as being the percussionist. You know what I'm saying? He's not just a drummer. So mm, not that there's anything wrong with being a drummer. This is, by the way, the first episode of Drummer Awareness Month on Couch Riffs. That's right, Drummer Awareness Month, where we are dedicating this entire month of April 2021 to raising awareness among my guitar and bass playing listener base, mostly. I would assume. I don't know, really, honestly. I think I've seen some of the information. It's like 95% men, 50-year-old men. So how you doing? I see you. I see me. I'm looking at me right now, actually. But you know, drummers are really important. Did you know that? If your drummer sucks, your band sucks. That's a common theme on this podcast. And um, you know why Greg's bands kick ass? Because he kicks ass. He's also a really nice dude. So we had a great time. We talked about motorcycles and adventure travel and a lot of prog rock. We talked a lot about prog rock. So buckle in and please do enjoy this conversation. I fucking loved it. And yeah, thanks for watching, listening, all that. If you're enjoying the Couches podcast and or the accompanying performance videos that we're making, please by all means go over to patreon.com and become a patron. Um, did I say Patreon? Become a patron. Um, that's the only place you can download the audio for the videos that we make, the cover songs, and that's what makes this possible. So thank you so much for supporting. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it because it would be illegal. I'd probably get locked up if I told you how much I appreciate it. Like, whatever. It's bad news. Also, thank you, River City Guitars in Spokane, Washington, rivercityguitars.com, at River City Guitars on social media. If you have something you are looking to move, every day is a buying day at River City Guitars. Give them a call, 509 818 7693, or shoot them an email, sales.rivercityguitars at gmail.com. Now, River City Guitars are dear friends of mine, and I wouldn't steer you wrong. They're going to treat you right. I love them. I love you. Thank you so much. Here we're going to get into the episode. Don't forget the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated, and don't be an asshole. Great to see you.
Likewise, looking good.
Well, I dropped 30 pounds and grew some Gavin Rossdale hair. I'm working on it, working on my bush.
I gave up.
One day I will. I'm back and forth. Sometimes I'm like, nah, I'm gonna be a rocker, and then I'm like, Who am I kidding?
Looks like you still have the choice, though.
I suppose so. Hey, man. How's your day going?
Good. Good. What? Oh, yeah. I had another phone thing this morning. Then I went and picked up some parts for my bike that had come in.
Motorcycle?
Yeah.
What are you riding?
This is a KLR 650.
A Kawasaki thing? Yeah?
Yeah.
I feel like I was looking at, was that a police bike that people convert? Or is that
No.
like a on-road, off-road bike?
Yeah, it's an enduro kind of thing, single cylinder thumper. They made them from 87 to 2018.
That's right.
Basically unchanged. There was one revision there in the middle, but it was still the same.
I was looking at those for a minute. I think what I was confused with, the KZ is the top bike, right? Is that right? KZ one.
Hang on, let me put some ears on here.
Oh, okay.
That goes in the sound hole.
Okay.
Say something nice. Oh, yeah.
All right. So picked up some bike parts today.
Yeah. Then twizzled the carburetor for a bit this afternoon until just now. Yeah, that's the one. I've only had this thing for a couple months. This one, it's really fun. I dig it, but it does. They were carbureted all the way to 2018,
right?
And so
that's kind of interesting that they never moved over to being no injected, right?
Right.
But
I mean, by the 2010-ish, I think you could hardly find a motorcycle that wasn't fuel injected.
I guess you don't want to be out in the middle of a desert trail and not be able to, but like if it's a carburetor thing, you can switch it if it's a fuel injector.
Yeah, but that's a little bit like for one thing, they're coming back for, where are we? We're 2021, so 2022, and I think there's expected to start showing up here around the middle of the year. They were gone for a couple of years. Maybe that would be 4 years, whatever, but a brief time. And they're coming back, and one notable evolutionary piece is they are now fuel injected. But that idea that, well, at least you can work on a carburetor. Well, that's good that you can work on a carburetor because you're probably going to have to.
Right.
It's kind of like owning a Volkswagen.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing about my Harley. I never had to work on the injectors, although every guy that rode an older bike would go on about how it was more reliable. Their bike was more reliable. I never had a problem with mine.
No.
And I rode.
Yeah. 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 I have a Kawasaki Vulcan 900 that is fuel injected, and all I do to that thing is change the oil. And then go places.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I think in the maybe 2022 is the year for me to get another bike.
Oh, you're kind of fading out sometimes.
That's weird. You can't hear me?
I can, but it's almost like as if there's a gate or something on the little. Couldn't clamp down.
Is that better?
Now it's less good.
Less good.
Well, but that was good.
Weird.
As long as you're shouting, it seems.
Let me turn this volume up.
Okay.
Sometimes it can, like the digital audio conversion in Zoom is a little janky, unfortunately. That's a drag. Is that okay? It could possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
my bike. I think I'll get another bike, next year. It's not in the cards this year, unless I find a cheap used bike.
What did you have before?
I had a couple of vintage BMWs, not at the same time, but in a row, that were great, like 70s. I had an R50,
Uh-huh.
or R that 75. Yeah, and they were cool, but they were. I'm not like a around town guy. Like, I don't drink. I'm not a bar hopper. So
Yeah.
I like to go on country roads and go all day. So they were great for that. My hips would get all cramped up and have to stop for gas a lot.
Yeah.
So I got a Road King. And the Road King, is like riding a sofa, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Love the Road King.
I loved it. So, but I moved to Brooklyn and I sold my bike because I think riding a Road King in Brooklyn would be like signing your death certificate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a choice I don't regret, because I probably would be dead, but I'm ready for it. Yeah.
What year was the one you had?
2005. Yeah, 2005. So it was super reliable, low miles. It was a comp bike that I converted. I put a fairing and a radio on it.
Oh, wow.
And the fenders, everything. It was great. But it had those hard cop bags.
Yeah.
It was cool. It looked like a street glide. It was all black and chrome. It was a pretty hot bike. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Hey, thank you for being my first guest for Drummer Awareness Month.
Drummer Awareness Month.
April is Drummer Awareness Month at Couch Riffs. Isn't that wonderful?
It is. I will note, though, that means it begins on April Fool's Day, which I don't know.
Well, it
was the only month you could find.
It was it came to me, and the idea came to me like, oh yeah, Drummer Awareness Month. That's great. So this month I'll focus all on drummers, and I say with complete sincerity that it is an absolute pleasure to have you as my first guest for this month. And period. Do you remember meeting me by chance? Probably not.
Vaguely, I think you said that it was at the Lighthouse.
Yes.
And was that I did a odd little gig there for a record release. Was that
1995 probably?
Something like that, yes.
I would say 95. That's when I was 95, 96 is when I was working there. And I probably would have never let you see it, but I was so nervous because, I was such a huge fan of Mother Love Bone, and I had only lived in Seattle for a couple years, and I had been in one band that didn't gig much. I hadn't met that many people, and then I met you, and I was like, oh my god, this is like the guy. This is the guy. Like, so it was very cool for me to be there at the cafe, to meet you, and to see you exploring music outside of the normal expectation of,
a rock dude.
of rock dude. Yeah. Because I was on this whole, like, I was on a trip of really shedding everything that I knew that I grew up with. And, around that time I had met Brad Hauser also, who played, going
Uh-huh.
to Critters was a huge thing for me. And, even listening to Mother Love Bone, like listening to your drumming, then I was like, this guy is a fucking percussionist. This guy is like, he's not Phil Rudd. He's not a drummer. He's like, he's doing other shit. And so I guess I just did a lot of talking to sort of explain my backstory and tell you sort of my great impression of what you were doing. I was honestly, I was shocked. I was like, this is what, of course at the time I was like, this is what wildly successful musicians do. I was like, this is incredible. Like, this is something I can do. Maybe I can be an artist. Of course, that's a tough road. But first of all, thank you for being inspirational. And then tell me, how do you go from being a hardcore punk drummer to like playing Doombeck?
Yeah.
Because that's a transition, right?
Yeah, I guess it would be if it worked that way. Volume. Say 2 words.
1, 2.
Oh, woohoo!
And now you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. My story. By like punk rock, are you referring to 10-Minute Warning or The Living? I guess maybe. Yeah. In both of those cases, easiest to see in 10-Minute Warning. Still am a big Ian Pace fan, Deep Purple.
Yeah.
And so in 10-Minute Warning, basically that's what I was doing, in the context of that band. So that was more than anything, is that kind of thing. That's kind of what it was to me.
So that's what you cut your teeth on, Deep Purple. That's it.
That was a big one. Deep Purple and Bill Bruford and King Crimson. That's probably the 2 that I studied the most. That great Elton John band from the Chonky Chateau,
right?
Yellow Brick Road. Nigel Olsson.
Uh-huh.
Awesome drummer, really under celebrated, super musical, that guy. So, how did it get to? Um, even while
I know it's a pretty big question.
while I used to, on the way home from 10-minute warning practice, I would be driving listening to King Crimson.
That's
or
pretty unusual,
like
I would guess.
that would be not it's pretty common for me. I never actually listened to a lot of real punk rock music. I mean, some that, like the Dead Kennedys, I really dug.
But they had a elevated musicality.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's kind of, it's I don't know how to put it delicately, but I was more into, I listened more to music that had layers, to some degree.
It was more sophisticated.
Than yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm familiar.
So
with punk rock bands situational, because those were, for people of your age, that was a much more accessible thing for you to get involved in.
Well, I have this other and this other interest. There's an aspect of music that is most real important to me. That it has real. I don't know what's a. Go the other way. The problem that I had hanging out with musicians with chops, and actually, for one, I never felt like I really did. I know that it kind of has looked like I do, but I never felt that way so much. But the problem I had, or I would often find hanging out with musicians that were, technically accomplished and oriented, then that musically I just felt like, what?
Well, yeah, like muso music is pretty vacuous and masturbatory.
Yeah, so it was way more interesting to me to explore to indulge in the animal side, and then bring everything to it you can. But for me, in the sort of art rock world, that the 70s King Crimson is the thing for me, and in many ways it satisfies a lot of my musical wants. But those guys, though, they were often counting to 5 or 7. Yes. The stuff was scary. I mean, they just, there's a live record in particular, USA, from that period, just like even playing a ballad, just raw. So that's a thing that I always look for primarily, and that's why I never really spent time in a more heavy world, I guess.
Kind of sinister about their music without it being, overly dark or really evil. It's almost, it's like it feels a little dark. Same with Mahavishnu. I don't know if you.
Yes,
I mean,
I just listening to some about an hour ago.
oh, still going through. Going through it. Did you
Yeah.
an album from them?
Another live record, Between Nothingness and Eternity.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It just sounds like they just worked the tunes up in the previous week, and they went out and played them live, and they're just hanging together by the skin of their teeth, and doing it.
It's
yeah.
I had a of making a Couch Riffs video of Birds of Fire, and you know.
That's ambitious.
Yeah, for sure. Or you know, also. But I still, for the life of me, I don't know how to count that. Do you know what time that's in?
No, I was just thinking that it would be fun to do, because you would finally sit down and figure a thing out that, in my case, we've talked about this before with that Yes tune, stuff we've been listening to forever and never really sat down with a pencil and figured out what the hell's going on here. You just kind of take it in and, oh, it's cool and it's a little bit weird and I dig it. And then when you actually do take something apart and figure out how to play it, it's really gratifying.
Once a month, I'll listen to You Know, and for the last 2 years, I've been back on fire with this because I saw Jeff Beck do it live.
Yes,
2 or 3 years ago, and it was incredible. And he had who did he have on drums? Vinny Caliuta?
Yeah.
It was fucking scary. It was so amazing. 3-piece band, just like amazing, right?
And yeah,
just every bit as dazzling as seeing Mahavishnu to me. Because I was in the front row also. I was just like in awe. But still, ever since then, I'll listen to the original recording once a month for 2 days straight, trying to count it. And I don't know how I just am not an adept enough musician to know. Like, it's certainly, I can't count it in eighth notes or quarter notes. It's like, it's something divided up more intricately, more complex than that. But it definitely makes me feel dumb. And it's something that I would love to be able to conquer one day.
Yeah, if you want to, be careful what you ask for. But if you want to make a project out of that,
you just opened up a terrible can of worms, buddy.
you can count me in.
Amazing. So we should touch on the living record, because I'm sure that you probably, I mean, this record came from 1980.
1982, yeah. But I can quickly finish. We didn't really get to how I got to playing the Doombeck. And
did you actually walk into the cafe with a Doombeck, or was it a djembe? I don't know. I just threw Doombeck out there.
I'm a kind of a fan of the djembe, and I really appreciate when somebody can play that thing, because it barks like nothing. But I've never had one or spent enough time with it to, really make it do what they're supposed to do.
I'll bet you have some.
But I lost you for a minute.
I'll bet you have some tablas.
I do. That's another. It's kind of a sore spot, Mike. I don't know why you had to bring that up. I carried them back from India myself.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
This wasn't some morning purchase.
No, I was there. And I think tabla is its own thing. You know, they're not just drums.
Right.
You know, just hit them. You know, just hit them and see what neat stuff comes out. Like, man, there's a way to operate them properly in order to make them do that thing that we hear on indie music recordings. You know,
Right.
I did not apply myself to the instruction that would really help to get that ball rolling. Yes, and finally, then in response to that, my dog, my girlfriend's dog at the time, had to go with one of the drums. So I still have it, slightly gnawed. Anyway, tabla I do have, and I never learned really to play them.
I have a lot of
it. It hurts me to say that because out loud right here on TV.
Same way. I have a lap steel. I had a pedal steel for a while. Fretless guitar. Yeah, all this crazy shit. I always think like, I'm gonna get this thing. I'm gonna get really good at it. Then I'm gonna be the guy
that's good at that thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Never. So far, I've never found the way to be the guy that plays the thing that everyone wants at all. So, but maybe I'll go fish, and I'll find my way to the weird instrument that the recording.
There's still another one somewhere in the back of the closet there.
So, do you remember what you showed up at the Lighthouse Cafe with that day? Was it a Doombeck?
Yeah. I probably had a couple of Doombecks. One I'd even made the hoops and put the head on it myself, and a whole bag of. Actually, I still have that bag itself. It probably still has a lot of the same odds and ends crap in it. Yeah, and what that all was about. For one, I did have a fascination with Indian music, Middle Eastern music in general, and listened to quite a bit of it. Never, like the tabla, which is its own thing, still even Tumbek, and never really studied any of that stuff. But it's easy to just listen and kind of interpret and do your own thing that sort of sounds like that. I'm sure there are some who cringe at me saying that, but because somebody who really plays the dubek also, it's amazing to watch.
Right.
So I did have a fascination with all that and technology, the idea and looping, and started with my old friend Rich Hinkland, just using, I don't remember who made it, like a DoD delay pedal that would do a sample and hold.
Right.
And using that and a contact mic with my very first. What's that?
The pedal with the two buttons. It was like a 6-second thing, right? Something like that, or 2-second was the.
Yeah, it might have only been. Yeah, the first one was really, really limited. He belonged to some collective that got together periodically and just experimented, and that's where I kind of developed the idea of doing this thing with drums, and quickly moved on to a microphone and a couple of. Then the Jam Man came out.
And amazing.
And you could expand the memory of those up to 32 seconds. And
Can you
so by the
out with a pedal that had 32 seconds now, they'd be laughed at.
Yeah. Did you get that in? Antique. How quaint that is. So with this rig, a microphone and looping, and then also being able to run it through other stuff, I needed sound sources that, I could hold in front of a microphone. And so that was obviously Dimbeck, talking drums, and then every kind of random bell, rattle thing, broken stuff and find on the street, whatever, anything that make a sound and you could swing around in front of the microphone. So that's what was going on. That gig that you saw, that's what I was doing. And I did that quite a bit for a long time, to the exclusion of playing any traps. I was really, for a while, I eventually formed a band around that. We were all looping, me and Chapman stick player and trumpet, all using jam bands. Band was called Radio Chong Ching. We did make a record.
I remember this, yeah.
And so that was all. That record was made in came out in 99-ish. So, and then I kept doing that for a while, but all hand, drum, tambourines, shaker stuff, whatever.
In the punk rock music community, did they know that you were into King Crimson and Yes and Mahavishnu and like prog rock?
Not maybe more than I realized. I know Duff. I talked about it with Duff.
Duff
sure
not care about that shit.
What's that?
Duff definitely is not really a big prog rock fan.
No.
Like he'll dip his toe into some Rush a little bit.
Oh yeah, I had never seen that.
I mean, he's not. Until he'll learn a thing here and there, but
I could see that. Yeah,
I think there's not enough for him to bite into for him to listen to Mahavishnu.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you heard progressive music like Mahavishnu Orchestra, and what that made you feel?
The earliest John McLaughlin stuff that I remember was there were a couple of Shakti records. Did you ever hear those?
Yes. Was he on Bitches Brew? Did he play on Bitches Brew?
He did. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, come on. That was
and is that him on Kinda Blue?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm thinking of the right stuff.
I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say no. It seems like it would be too early. But what the fuck do I know? I'm kind of
I'm confused. Yeah. No. But some things are running together. Maybe because of there's a great remix of some Miles stuff that Bill Laswell did now a long time ago. But yeah. Now there's some stuff in there that it definitely has John McLaughlin on it, and it is not Kinda Blue, because Kinda Blue is still pretty traditional. It's not electric. So, yeah, shoot. Now I can't remember what's going on there.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so McLaughlin on those Shock T records is the first stuff that I remember. And I don't remember when I first heard Birds of Fire, but it would have been all. Mine started at the end of junior high.
Did you already have a drum kit by then?
Yes, I had my first drum kit when I was 12.
What's that, 6th grade?
Yeah.
What drew you to drum?
I don't know for sure. My dad had been a drummer.
Oh.
And like drummers do, was always playing countertops. I never saw him play the drums until I got a drum set, and then he wouldn't really play. So yes, what I remember of him having drums is in a house that we lived in until I was 5 years old. So I had to be somewhere in there with 4 or 5. I don't know how much. 3. Do you remember stuff when you're 3? How far back? But one day somebody came to the house to buy his drums, and we crawled up into the attic to bring them down to sell them. So that's what I remember of him having the drums. What's that?
You remember that day distinctly.
I do. Actually, that's kind of weird, isn't it? I remember that, like being up in the attic and getting them down. Yeah, that is odd.
I mean, were you into the things that everyone was into, like Kiss and Ted Nugent and all of the stuff, Aerosmith and the stuff that was on radio at the time, or
a lot of it? Yeah. Kiss. I was never a Kiss fan. I never got it.
That's okay. No one's going to hold that against you.
But yeah, Ted Nugent, Stranglehold, that stuff. What was the name of that record? Was it just Ted Nugent? Did that record have a?
Was it Great Gonzo? It was. Was it on Cat Scratch Fever?
Cat Scratch Fever came. That was a record, like the next record or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's too bad how he's turned out, but I guess
yes.
or whatever.
Yeah.
You got to kind of like, scrub that stuff from your mind, because when it comes on the radio, that shit feels good and it's groovy.
Sure does. Yeah. I mean, for me, the few things on that first record, the one that had Stranglehold on it, that's the stuff that I thought was pretty cool. That still do.
Were you a kid?
A what kid?
Were you in school band?
Yes. And we started in the 5th grade, and I started playing the cornet. And soon, and I was good, but soon I decided I wanted to join the drum section. That was a fatal move, exercise of very poor judgment.
Oh, I don't know if that's so. I mean,
well, I would have still played the drums, but most likely. So I guess I don't know that, because I guess I wasn't. That was when I got my first snare drum. But I have always thought that I could have. Well, because I say this because at the end of 7th grade, I talked to my band teacher about finding a saxophone teacher over the summer so I could come back and play sax, and which would have been again. So the thing is, I never learned, as far as I can tell, one anything about playing the drums that I applied to traps from playing in the school, playing the percussion section in the school dance.
Right, because you weren't probably like playing rudiments that you could transfer over to drum fills or whatever.
And I never even worked on that stuff.
Well, it's boring unless you know that, unless you have the foresight as a kid. It's hard for a kid, right? Did you have that thing where?
Oh God, yes.
Right.
I had it the worst. The thing where don't show me anything because I know, let me figure this out on my own because I know what I want out of it, kind of thing. Don't distract me with your right ways, your fucked up right ways of doing things.
I'm still trying to. Am I fucking kidding? There's a thing about me, like in the 80s, there was a lot of music that was really good. Of course, a lot of 80s, for a long time the 80s got a bad rap. But there are a lot of great songs that came out in the 80s. Tons of great music. All kinds of genres. But a lot of it didn't have heroic playing. And as a young musician, that's what I wanted. Because, like if you're an athlete, you don't go out there and you're like, I'm just going to be the best blocker. That's all I want to do. It's like, no, everyone wants to run for a touchdown or slam.
Right.
Like that's what you want as a kid because you don't know patience and teamwork and yet. Very few people have that instilled in them, and I am certainly no exception.
Yeah.
Did you have that thing where you clearly we're all drawn to flashier playing, as a young player, that's most impressive, right? Is that what you think drew you to prog music?
Not so much I guess it depends on what my idea of flashy was, but I don't think of it that way, that it was because the chops were cool. I can think of one record that might be like that for me, that I quietly listen to when nobody's around once in a while, not because I dig the music so much, but I think the playing is so great. And it's a Chick Corea acoustic trio record with Dave Wacko playing drums.
Right.
And I think the playing on that record is just so remarkable. But that's a record that I listen to just to listen to the chops. Pretty much.
You get no satisfaction.
I mean, to the extent that when you're into the chops, you're listening to how they make musical statements, I guess. So I mean, you can't avoid, you actually are drawn into it in some way. Yeah.
But it's like watching some kind of fancy microsurgeon work. You're just like, wow, that's incredible. Hope I never have to do that.
Hope I never have to do that. Yeah. Was I like of the proggy bands? Yes, the first few records with Rupert and the band.
Yeah,
Those I still dig those.
I still listen. Yeah.
But it's not so much for the chops. Just man, I just think it's such beautiful music. That's what a bunch of those guys. They're just a bunch of freaks. How do they get away with playing like that and yet producing this thing that is so accessible? I mean, they're beautiful songs. You know,
It's over the top. It's excessive and accessible.
yeah, it's unreal. There's nothing like that.
Man, that is like the perfect balance of mushrooms and cocaine right there. Okay. That's what being in that band must have been like.
Yeah.
Like cruising it out. Those guys were on another level. And
Yeah.
and a lot of that I think was John Anderson, right? I mean, he brought in these, and they had harmonies. You know, it wasn't instrumental music.
Right.
They were
Right.
creating melodic, progressive music with great lyrical content and like beautiful melody.
Yeah. Yeah. As I understand it, at least a lot of those things at the core kind of start. You know, he has an idea, but he doesn't play. Right. He's not a player, which is part of that thing. You know, in my experience, in most bands I've been in, or songwriters situations, the best player is not the songwriter. The songwriter is usually the person who plays the least, and it's best that way. The songs are better and more interesting for it,
right? And they can, you know, they're fueled only by their imagination and not by their musical experience of interacting with an instrument.
Yeah.
Express something to you in a way that, you know, your music teacher wouldn't. Playing,
Yeah.
you know, like pursue, play something that transitions from that chord that sounds green or square. Like that stuff is way more interesting, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
I love that you have this, you know, this prog history. I mean, you know, so was the Living your first band?
Oh no, I'd had junior high and high school with a couple of other guys. We we had a band. I don't.
Always rock band?
Yeah. It's funny. It seems that band went on for. It existed, at least in name, for quite some time, years. But I only remember going through one concentrated period where we actually regularly got together and worked on stuff, original music.
Right.
And then a couple of cover sort of bar bands at the end of high school, and with other guys that not from my school. They're all older than me. But The Living was my first band in Seattle.
Right. Do you remember how many shows you guys ended up playing? Because it didn't last a very long time, although it probably felt like a long time as a kid. Everything feels like a long time, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's a few months then was,
Yeah.
yeah, at least, yeah. I don't know how many shows we did. It lasted from January. I had to be sometime in January that I joined, and until Kurt Block says our last show was sometime in July. And
no, he's a bit of a historian, isn't it?
yes, and he has calendars and stuff with things.
He's like the Gandalf of the Seattle music scene. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, you can always rely on him for really just about anything.
He's better than Wikipedia as far as Seattle goes.
So,
but in that time, you guys managed to play a handful of a bunch of shows and make a record.
Yeah, well, at the time, it wasn't. It's a record now. It was one session of 5 tunes, and then another session. I don't know, within a couple of weeks or so later, where we did the other 2 tunes. And I don't know how many shows we did. We played, and I don't remember much detail from those shows. We played, and there were a couple of art galleries down around Pioneer Square where we played a few times. At that time, there were no clubs or bars supporting this kind of music. So
right,
these shows happened in some kind of improvised space.
Unconventional stuff, yeah.
There was one great show with DOA at a place called Monroe's Dance Palace, which is a warehouse or something now. And I think that was a dance studio.
This recording that's coming out, was it at that time? Did you guys put it out on cassettes? Did you guys release it at all?
No.
No, it never has ever seen the light of day.
Not really. Yeah, we did have a bunch of. There were a bunch of cassette copies around. With we all had one or some, and was not distributed. That I recall in any way. And I don't know why exactly. It's been hard to answer. It seems that the focus was so much on just playing,
right?
That other stuff, like okay, so you have a band, and what do you want to do with this band, and what are we going to do to make those things happen? We never really. That was a lot more planning than we had.
That seemed like a lot of planning.
Happening. What's that?
Putting out a record seemed like a lot of planning.
Yeah, like that was a whole another level of what, and I don't. I know now. It just seems it doesn't really make sense. Well, why didn't you? But at that time, it's not that no bands were making records. Like it seemed that the Fastbacks were always working on a record. But at the same time, making records wasn't so much a part of the consciousness of that. Sort of evolved over the next years,
right
after, where along with being a band was also that you might make a record,
right?
That became a thing, and at this time it wasn't. The only way I can make sense out of it is that we just wanted to play. What are you going to sit around and talk about stuff? What?
Right. What was the first band that you were in that that went on tour, like a proper tour?
What band did tour?
They did a proper tour.
Mother Love Bone went around the States. And a trip to Europe with asthma, and went to China with
oh wow,
Jeff Greinke's band at the end of the 90s. It was pretty cool.
I've been fascinated with China for a long time. I'd like to go there. I'd like to see that place.
Yeah, I recommend it.
What was your experience touring the United States? Because it was, what, 1988 when you toured with Mother Love Bone? 88 or 89?
That, yeah, when did we go to Sausalito? It had to be 89 because I went traveling in 87, and right at the first of the new year in 88, then I joined Mother Love Bone, and by the next spring we had made Shine, and we were doing a van tour around the States, then to come back and pack up to go to Sausalito to make an album.
About that EP at Budget Tapes and Records.
Budget, wow, I used to work there.
Really?
Yeah.
Location?
In Tacoma on 6th Avenue.
They had a number of locations. I know they had one in Everett, one in Puyallup, Tacoma, apparently. They had one in Marysville, and that was my regular because it was closest to my home in Granite Falls. Yeah, I think I must have heard it on Jeff Gilbert's show, I would guess. That's where I heard it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I would race the budget, or I would ask the people that, the kids that worked there, I'd just be like, what do I need to buy? And I was like immediately just taken by that EP. I had it on every format I could get it on. I wish I still had my vinyl copy, but it actually kind of reminded me, not rhythmically, but spirit-wise, it reminded me of Guns N' Roses, which I love, which is ironic, I think, because of the history with Duff. But the interplay between the two guitars reminds me of, Guns N' Roses, who, of course, were big Aerosmith fans, and I would have to guess that Jason from the Aerosmith guys.
Oh, yeah. And Jeff, too, in a big way.
Who did you guys go tour with? Were you out on your own, or did you guys get yourself an opening slot?
We did it a lot with, we were opening for a band called Dogs D'Amour.
Oh, yeah.
And
what kind of venues were you guys playing?
Clubs, large and small, depending on where we were.
Right.
Seems that the place I don't remember so well. The place in Boston we played was maybe large-ish.
Middle East?
What's that?
Middle East?
Yeah, I don't even remember now.
So you said that you went traveling in 1987.
Yeah.
Where'd you go traveling to?
Southeast Asia.
Oh, amazing. Now it's like commonplace, but back then that was way more adventure. That was adventure travel.
I guess it was, though. Even by then, maybe, I don't know for sure when it happened, but maybe it was around that time. That kind of travel was just really beginning to become popular because there was a series. There's a book publisher, Lonely Planet.
Yeah.
And you familiar with them? Yeah, their whole deal was writing those kind of backpacker traveler books, catering to that crowd. And they were at that time they were in full swing. And anywhere you went, would be other travelers there. Everybody was using the same books to get around.
And it was responsible for my bicycle trip in Cuba.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of how I would pick my trips. I would go to the travel section. I'd go through and say, what looks interesting and where can I afford to fly to? And I must have been like, at Costa Rica or something. I'm like, oh, this sounds relaxing. And then there was Cuba. And I was like, at the time, Fidel Castro hadn't made a public appearance in months, and people were speculating that he was dead. And I knew, things were going to change. So I was like, I'll go to Cuba. So I pulled out a book, and I was like, maybe I'm going to put it back. And as I put it back, there was Cuba by bicycle. And I grabbed it. And I didn't even open it up. I went and bought it.
Oh, wow.
By the next week, I had a ticket.
Oh, cool. How long were you there?
A month. I was supposed to go for 6 weeks, but you can't use an ATM there if you're American because you get fucked. So I brought cash with me, and I just underestimated what I was going to need. So I was faced with this predicament where I flew there with a bicycle. I bought a bicycle on Craigslist and, put a rack and brought my panniers. And the whole thing was I'm going to give this bike away when I'm done there.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be stoked, I'll just give it away. I didn't even realize what a huge thing that was going to actually be. I didn't realize that was going to bring someone to tears, but
yeah,
it was like giving someone a car, or a fucking airplane. It was remarkable.
Oh, how cool.
But I was going to run out of money. I didn't have enough money. So I was faced with this moral predicament. I felt like where I could have sold the bike and had plenty of money to stay for the full time. But then I would have had on the buses with the German tourists.
Yeah.
But I wasn't feeling that, So I changed my ticket home and said 4 weeks is good, and Cuba will always be here. I can come back. And if I go back, I'll give away another bike, but I'll bring a lot of baseballs and baseball gloves because that's it is incredible how much baseball is being played there everywhere you go. It's really incredible.
That's great.
But I highly recommend going. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost went. Because I didn't three-ish years ago, and right then we had tickets, my girlfriend and I, and then some big changes were made. Some international politics.
Here's, when I went, it was 2006 or 2007. And so, here's the thing. Fly to Cancun, and then Cancun fly to Cuba. Fly to Havana. I didn't, there was no option for a direct flight back then. And I chose to go through Cancun and not Canada, which you can also fly there from, because
Yeah.
I thought, well, if I come back through customs from Canada in the winter with a suntan, like, they might ask me, what have I been up to? Explore my passport a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That's a good point. Good thinking. Yeah.
I watch a lot of CSI, so I know how to cover my tracks. So you get back from this trip, how long were you in Southeast Asia?
5 months.
Wow. And
Yeah.
was that your first bit of adventure type travel?
That kind of thing. Yeah. With a backpack. Yes. Yeah.
It's pretty liquid.
Yeah. Oh, God. I highly recommend it. There's just nothing like that. And did it again right after Andy died. Went to Mexico and Central America same way. Basically, till we ran out of money.
How long was that trip?
That was also 4 or 5 months. Yeah, that had a fun beginning. My dad was living in LA at that time. My plan was to go down, drive down to his place, hang out with him for a while, and then head south. And so I had done that, and the next morning, one day he was gonna drive me over to the bus station. I don't know what my plan was. I guess whatever, but I was just gonna bus it probably to the border. But as it turns out, Alice in Chains was playing in Hollywood that night, the night before I was going to leave, and so I went down to see them. And then turns out the next night, they were playing in Tijuana.
At Iguanas, I'll bet.
Yeah. So I just showed up the next morning at their bus and got a ride with them down to the border.
Oh, that's amazing.
That was fun. And then I just I walked across right there and made my way to the bus station in Tijuana and headed south.
That trip must have been as much an adventure travel as it was like a soul searching.
Yeah, true. They're kind of the same thing for me, I guess. That kind of travel, and so I was so just consumed with the act and the events of traveling like that I wasn't I don't recall processing that much of what had just happened with Mother Loved One. I guess I had some cassettes with me because I remember talking to people about it or playing it maybe, but yeah, I just was so consumed by traveling, which I just loved. That was another really great trip. Awesome.
On that trip, were you focused on just? You seem like you're probably a very in the moment person, and I feel like if I were in your situation, I just don't even know. So, like, were you already thinking about what you were going to do when you got home? Were your thoughts going there, or were you just trying to be where you were at and not think about the past, not think about what had happened, and not think about the future either?
Mostly, I think, yeah. I did not come back with a plan.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
Did you get the opportunity to play any music on that trip?
Not on that trip. I did in Indonesia, but not when I went south here. I don't think. Yeah. Yeah, I did not play at all, and it has really grown on me since. But a lot of the music that comes from that area certainly didn't appeal to me so much. So there wasn't.
Right.
There were not a lot of local jams I was so drawn to.
Midnight open mic jam that you could jump in on.
No, oh my God, there was one. I was not playing, but place we were staying out on the beach in Honduras, and just a nowhere little village. There was one restaurant open in the evenings in town, and a whole bunch of us would end up there every night. Other travelers staying in this weird Dr. Seuss structure out on the beach, which I believe was eventually blown away by a hurricane. But so there was a mariachi band, like a 3-piece band, maybe, that came and preyed on these foreigners hanging out at this lone restaurant. And to this day, I swear, they either were playing some of the most esoteric music I had ever experienced, or they could not play at fucking all.
Or could have been the Iowa also.
Yeah, that is a great memory from that place.
I remember my first free music jam. Like, don't worry about time.
Yeah, but did you get paid for it?
That would mean that there would have to be witnesses.
Yeah, these guys, they were making money.
I played an unrehearsed free music New Year's Eve show. Like, what a terrible way to ring in New Year's Eve. Like, who fucking wants that? I remember that it was a great idea as a kid, This was around the time that I met you. I was very gung-ho about exercising my love of Dawkins and really embracing, John Zorn and things that were hard, were not palatable. Things that my sister didn't like,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what a terrible idea. New Year's fucking Eve.
Were you playing by yourself, or did you have a free combo?
It was like me, a trumpeter, a drummer. I don't think we had a guitar player. I was definitely anti guitar at the time. I was playing bass then. You know, at the time I might have even had an upright bass, which I was terrible at.
All the better.
Yeah, exactly.
All the more experimental.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing like when I realized that people who were actually good, you know, people like Nels Klein, who I was already listening to, you know, he's a fucking maniac and a bona fide genius musician. And when he plays free jazz, he's not making noise. When he plays noise, he's still expressing brilliance.
Yeah.
Because that's something that as soon as I realized you had to be really, really good to indulge in that kind of music, I was like, all right, well, I'm out because I don't have the patience to learn all of those things.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Jesus, right now I can't. Sadly, the guitar player we all know of, but from that world, you can see him on the YouTube today. But same kind of watching him, just having that realization that, wow, this is out, but this guy can really play.
That's it. Like it's just because it sound like 145 Blues doesn't mean it's, you know, it's way more, you know, it's more complexly expressive than blues music, but it's every bit as expressive.
Yeah, I remember my first experience of actually being overcome by and captivated by that music was part of that trip to China with Jeff Grinke. We played at the Beijing Jazz Festival, and there were a lot of free jazzers there. And I was a little bit late to see these guys' sets. They were already going when I got there, but I saw most of it, and it was piano, violin, and drums. And the drummer was a guy named Tony Oxley, British guy. Goes back. He played on McLaughlin's Extrapolation.
Fancy.
And if you can find him on YouTube doing what he does now, he's just gone out and he makes his own. It's unbelievable. So these guys were doing this thing, and I just blew my hair back. What? Just sheets of this amazing sound pouring off the stage. I couldn't. That was the first time I'd really seen some free music that I got. It was remarkable.
Do you ever like indulging punk rock again? Like, when was the last time you played what you would consider a punk rock gig? And does the nature of playing rock music appeal to you in any way anymore?
I don't remember the last time I played like that. I really don't. Jeez. I mean, I don't know, like in the 10-minute warning-ish era, I guess. Maybe a little bit of some moments since,
90s.
rock bands playing fast, but not so much. And the idea of playing it today, yes and no. I'm just of two minds, kind of, about music making in general these days, or maybe my whole life.
Do you have any other interest? Like, do you have any other, like, are you into gardening or like in making handmade clay beads, or is there any other thing that you're passionate about that sort of fulfills you in a way that music has over the years?
Yes, yeah. In computers, I got it. I got at the end of the '90s. I started getting into computers and right away programming, and that was a time when I needed to find a different thing because I had been playing quite a bit, and it had become not very rewarding. It's
Right.
not so fulfilling. Certainly challenging, and oddly, um, yeah, I thought about that exactly that. I had the realization that computer programming gave me a similar kind of buzz to music making, with the benefit of you could do it by yourself.
Right.
You know? And I don't know what about it. There's something about the similar kind of problem solving, making things fit together without seams. You know? So, yeah, computers and programming. What's that?
Or to at least feel seamless, even if they do have seams.
Yeah. So I did a lot of that for quite a while.
Yeah.
A couple of real gigs, real networks. They were from Seattle.
Oh yeah, that's the old school.
Yeah.
They started what? When did they start? 95? 90?
Somewhere in there, I suppose. Yeah, because they're early. They were sort of pioneering this idea of streaming media over the internet, and their first player for a while was being bundled with Windows, right?
I had a temp gig there in like 2005.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but all I did was I would get these. I worked in this, like, I had a scanner and a little booth, and I just scanned album covers and cropped them and touched them up in Photoshop, and then uploaded them, and then attached the album view so that it would show up appropriately. Align the scan with whatever, because I think the first version of album covers, had poor definition, that is.
Yeah.
So, they had to be entirely recatalogued. So I'm certain that I've seen some of those scans that I did, probably in iTunes.
Yeah.
Wherever.
Wow.
Some of them still look like shit, right? You go to Spotify and it's like, these catalog holders are just like, there's an image already. Why do I want to pay to have it touched up? Like, fine, people see what it is.
It's already there, yeah. Wow. So you were working down at the office on
on West.
Western.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or is it Elliott down there?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good temper. That was like a good temp gig for me too, because I was living pretty loose back then. I'd done a bunch of travel around then, and it was, it was easy come, easy go.
Yeah, oh, that's cool.
Do you have any travel plans? Are you still into traveling? I mean, I know right now nobody can really do much of anything, but
yeah, in a big way. Actually, I intend to start traveling on my motorcycle this year.
What's the plan?
Well, until things open up, just long rides around the Northwest have been easy to expand out of there.
Coast is a great ride.
The Northeast, did you say?
The Oregon coast.
Oh, the Oregon, yeah.
I mean, and there's plenty of camping. It's I did a lot of that. I loved it.
Yeah, and that's exactly the kind of thing I'm intending to do just right away. Then up into Canada, from here it's a no-brainer. You can't not go up there, and there's so much just remote country, Yeah. Yeah. Or up to it's pretty common now, I think, but it's, again, how can you not do it if you're already starting out here, to go up to Dead Horse at what's the day there at the Arctic Circle.
Just go cruise all the way up into Alaska
to the end of the road. Yeah.
Right. That's I have a friend that did that on a scooter.
Really?
A fucking scooter, man. And he brought me back a vial of Arctic Ocean.
Of Arctic Sea. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you heard Duff talk about him. His name's Paul Hutzler.
Yeah.
He plays pedal steel. He's a great musician and singer. Like he's great, and just he's a free spirit. He gets a lot of different ideas, and he's the kind of guy that follows through on them. I admire him for his sense of adventure, very much so.
Oh, that's a great story on a scooter.
Right up on that highway that all those like the ice truckers cruise on, all the way up to whatever that most northern port town is there.
I think that's Dead Horse. Yeah.
Okay. Like he got there on his scooter, and they were like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He looked like an alien to them.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Hey, it's 7. It's almost 8 here, almost 5 there.
Yeah, I should.
You said you have a thing at 5.
Got another thing at 5. Yeah.
When does the living record come out? Let's make sure to talk about that.
April 16th, I believe.
And it's coming out. Is Stone's label still Loose Groove?
Yep.
Awesome. I'm glad to know that that's active again. Has it always been active?
Yeah. I don't think so. Actually, I think they've just been spinning it up again here recently.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really happy to see it, this record coming out, and I'm stoked to get to talk to you about prog rock and adventure travel.
Yeah, likewise. It's nice to hear you're similarly inclined, and
We're all the same.
we should do another. Is it now? When does? Well, it's not even Drummers Month yet. Oh, you're getting this. This will be broadcast to
It'll come out next Monday.
For universal consumption.
That's right. Next Monday. I don't know what the date.
Okay.
4th or something.
Well, I don't know how many drummers you know. If you need, I'd love to come back and we can talk about traveling.
I would.
If you run out of drummers.
I'd love to have you play on another video. We won't talk about the video that you played on because that's going to blow people's minds. I'm still trying to. I mean, the music, if you can believe it, is completely done, and it is.
Oh, is it really?
It is fucking incredible, dude. It is.
Oh wow!
People up. It is incredible, but I can't pin down singers. Like, I have been blown off more than fucking autumn leaves. Like, I am getting blown off for singers. Maybe people are afraid. Maybe it feels like a lot of responsibility.
It is. It's a lot. That's.
But it's when it comes out, it's going to be great. It's a great parody, roadie release, you know, and yeah, it's a fucking great song. Again, we won't talk about what it is, but
well, yeah. Thank you for the invite to do that. I had so much fun with it.
So glad. Maybe we'll do Birds of Fire, Intermounting Flame.
I'm game. I'm game.
Oh, wait. When does the record come out?
April 16.
April 16.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. No world tour plan.
No, I can pretty much guarantee there will be no live performances.
No live performance support. But
yeah,
what an awesome thing to dig up out of the archives and make available to people.
Yeah, it's been so fun. It's already. It hasn't even. It's not officially released, but it's already bigger than anything I had anticipated or hoped for.
Yeah.
For it, so gotten so much attention.
Awesome.
Already. Stoner Regan have been fantastic.
Well, congratulations. Thanks again for being an early inspiration to me and using an approachable person at a time when it's very socially awkward and really impressionable.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Have a great night, man. You're great.
Likewise. It's been great to get to know you over recent. What has it been? Months now?
It's been months. That's how long this project has been going on. Yeah. That's not even long. Like, spoiler alert, it's not even the longest that any of these things has gone on. Today I released a video for Shining Star by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Which is fucking dynamite. And it's got a horn section and everything. But I got the drums for that last June. Yeah, brother. So this, considering the mountain of work that was involved in this song, This thing has gone like grease lightning. It's like a grease pig.
Yeah, well, I guess unfortunately, there's been a lot of people who've had spare time to devote to such things this year.
Tell me that musicians don't have something to do. I can't. All right, buddy.
Yeah.
You're the best. I still hope that one day I get the opportunity to like play music with you and not just on a super killer, most ambitious video project of all time. And
I would love that. So
we'll make it so. I'll be in Seattle.
Yeah.
Maybe this year. Who knows?
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Well, I'll be in touch for sure.
All right, man. Take care.
Thanks. You too, Mike. Have a good one.